Robert Helenius against Adam Kownacki coming up, the rematch. Let's talk about it. Okay, so it's been announced Kownacki wants the rematch against Robert Helenius, and Robert Helenius has said, yes, let's make it happen. So let's talk about the first fight. First of all, apart from the terrible commentary on that fight with Robert Helenius and Kownacki, anything Kownacki did in that fight was like wonderful and great, and nothing was great from Robert Helenius. And it seemed like whoever was doing the broadcast hadn't done their research on Robert Helenius, because if they'd seen Robert Helenius against Derek Chisora, I think they would have understood that Robert Helenius can soak up punishment and can mix it, and he also fought Dillian Whyte as well. Both guys, I would say, are much more powerful and better fighters than Adam Kownacki, in my personal opinion. I remember people saying at the time Kownacki was still unbeaten, and Andy Ruiz had beaten Anthony Joshua, and people saying Kownacki, he's the future of the heavyweight division. I was like, what? He's the future of the heavyweight division. He's one of the best in the world. Ruben Guerrero, a regular who comes on this channel, was rating up Kownacki, and I said, Adam Kownacki, as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't move his head. He gets hit with too many punches. And if you don't move your head in the heavyweight division and you take too many punches and your chin's not like, eventually it's going to let you down. This is what happens. You don't move your head in boxing. You come in straight lines, you slower feet, average hand speed. He's just an average Polish heavyweight. That's what he was. He was nothing great. But, there are people out here that think Kownacki was going to go and fight Deontay Wilder and beat Deontay Wilder. Said if he fights like that against Deontay Wilder, he's looking for a death sentence. Wilder will take him out in 2-3 rounds because he's slow, hand and foot. He walks in straight lines. He doesn't move his head. He's straight on the line, and he's just on the line for one straight right hand down the pipe with Wilder, much like he did with Spilka. But even Spilka's a better boxer than Kownacki. But Kownacki beat Spilka, but that was Spilka at the end of his career, I think, after Wilder had already sit in the hospital. But anyway, so they were talking about how they thought that Helenius couldn't take the pace of Kownacki. And Kownacki looked like he was going about his business, said he was light at this time round. He was in good shape. He looked disinterested at one point, but that's probably just his mannerism. And the way he went about his fight, it seemed like he was going about his business standard. Then he was walking onto right hands from Helenius from like the second round, walking onto straight right hands from Helenius. Helenius looked bad. Instead, like Helenius looked like from the first or second round he was gasping for breath. I didn't know if they drugged Helenius as well, because he looked like he hadn't been in the gym for years, and he's pulled up for this fight because he looked absolutely exhausted. Go look at the tape, gasping for breath. And that was before Kownacki probably threw punches at him. He looked exhausted, but he had the skill set. He was a much better skilled heavyweight than Kownacki, and Kownacki just walked onto the right hand. They tried to style it out. The commentary, it was a slip, and then he realized it was a knockdown, and then Helenius finished him with a left hook. So for Kownacki to come back, there's some things he basically has to get right fundamentally. First of all, he's got to move his head. He can't stay on the line. He can't stay straight in front of Helenius because he's going to hit with that right hand again. So he's going to have to change his style, his dynamics, his science, because at the moment he's very basic, and he comes forward. He's not better than Dillian Whyte. He's not better than Derek Chisora. And I just think that Kownacki's style is made for Helenius. That being said, Helenius himself didn't look great. I mean, he's pulling back from shots. I mean, he's able to pull it because he was long. He's able to pull himself back away from shots. I'd rather him slip to the side, then pull straight back from punches. I felt very uncomfortable with HELENIUS pulls back against the rope, pulling his head back. But the good thing I liked about HELENIUS, he wasn't taking a lot of those punches flush. He was catching shots, he was slipping shots, he was a bit more defensively. And he seemed, see, HELENIUS is an experienced heavyweight. He's an experienced heavyweight, and he's a dangerous heavyweight because he has nothing to lose. You know, if you go back in time, HELENIUS was like, he was the next in line after the Klitschko's. If you know your boxing history, he was the next in line to the Klitschko's. I talk about HELENIUS, the Nordic nightmare, and he was running through the heavyweight division. This guy, 6'5", 6'6", he was tearing through the heavyweight division. I mean, he looked the business. I mean, and something along the line, either contractually, he seemed to lose heart and all interest in the game of boxing, suffered a knockout loss, and he just seemed off the boil. But I think he's rejuvenated. And heavyweights, they mature and they get better as they get older. You see, Robert HELENIUS in this rematch, he's been preparing with Nathan Gorman, which is perfect. If I'm Robert HELENIUS, I prepare with Nathan Gorman, I prepare with Derek Chisora, Dave Allen, them type of guys prepare for to fight Adam KOWNACKI. I don't think Adam KOWNACKI is that good, to be honest. I really don't. I think the hopes on him. I don't know if he's that good. And even if he gets past HELENIUS, which is no guarantee, he could get flattened again by HELENIUS, because all HELENIUS really has to do for this next fight is just use the jab and wait for KOWNACKI to come in, because he can't box him off the front foot. He can't go off the back foot and box. He's too short for that. So he just uses the long range, uses the jab. Just time. If I'm training HELENIUS, right, take the center of the ring, use your big jab. Lots more feints. You know, shake and bake. Means don't stay straight up like this, like shake and bake. And keep moving your head. Lots of feints with the jab. Draw the feint. So you just draw and do that. Do a lot of that, and make KOWNACKI come in. And as KOWNACKI comes in, hit him hard with a straight right hand and step off. Time up. Hit him with a straight right hand. Hit with the uppercut. You know what I mean? KOWNACKI's there for those shots because he's wild and he wings his shots in, leaves himself exposed. That's why when he came in and threw them shots, he couldn't see the shots coming back. And he's so used to fighting guys, getting them against roads and pinning them and throwing shots. He forgot the guy the other end can punch back. And this is what happens when you fight patsies and you fight guys that don't hit you back. You understand? So I didn't think KOWNACKI against HELENIUS was a good fight. It's poor matchmaking for KOWNACKI. HELENIUS is all wrong for him. The length, the height, the boxing ability that HELENIUS has got. And he gets his jab going. He's got a nice jab and he's got a good right hand as well. So if HELENIUS is a fight to win for him again, as long as HELENIUS is in good shape, because KOWNACKI said he had a bad camp. But if he had a bad camp, then HELENIUS must have had a terrible camp, like I said, because HELENIUS looked in terrible shape. But I don't know if that was a anxiety thing. I don't know why it'd be anxiety. I don't know if it was like he busted a rib, he broke a rib coming to the fight. I don't know. He was injured before the fight, or maybe he did get hit with a body shot and was winded by KOWNACKI, but he looked like he was gasping for air. The same sort of gasping for air that Klitschko had when he fought not Corey Sanders. That same sort of looking for air, you know, and he didn't look right. So hopefully this fight he can settle down, watch his water, whatever else, and just, you know, I think they expected HELENIUS to be the patsy in there. He'll get hit with a couple of shots, fall over, and make KOWNACKI look good. But HELENIUS was not the patsy in there that night. And he just showed once again experienced heavyweights who had a loss or two, right, but are good fighters. They've just had bad nights. HELENIUS is a good fighter. Still, as me, you talk about the top three: Wilder, Joshua, Fury. But HELENIUS, don't count HELENIUS out. I think he's been badly managed, but I think he's a good fighter. He's got a good chin, he's got a decent engine, he's good height. You know, he can punch. He's got a good jab, and the heavyweight division. As long as you've got a very good jab in the heavyweight division, let's say, show me a right hand, will take you around the corner. A left jab will take you around the world. He's got good boxing fundamentals. HELENIUS. He fought in the world championships as an amateur. He's a good boxer, Robert Helenius. In fact, Helenius fought Stavern in the amateurs, and Stavern beat Helenius and David Price in the amateurs. I'd like to see Helenius well managed. If he beats KOWNACKI, which I think he can beat KOWNACKI, I think he's a better boxer and he's got more to offer, I think, than KOWNACKI. But if he can beat KOWNACKI, I'd like to see him get a world title shot, Helenius, at some point. I don't know how he gets himself out of where he is to get a world title shot, and I hope somebody underestimates him, because I think Helenius is a good heavyweight. I like him. I like his style. I'd like to see him believe in himself more. Like when Helenius started his career, he was coming forward, he was using that jab, that big jab, he was using the Rosa, using figure. It seems that he's sort of lost his way, either through managerial, behind the scenes things, and getting, I think he got knocked out by either Molina or Adamek. One of them two guys knocked him out, I think. And I think he just got caught up in all that. But if he can dust himself down, he's had that kind of KOWNACKI win. If he can dust himself down, I didn't even like the way he fought against Dillian Whyte. He just looked like he just turned up for a payday. It's just one of those fights that went on and on, and I didn't care much for it. I'd like to see Helenius come back. I even thought Derek Chisora beat him for the European title, to be honest, and that was a disgrace, that performance. But I'd like to see Derek Chisora look good that night. I'd like to see him come back, get a nice training camp, beat KOWNACKI, and really go for the heavyweight title. I like Helenius. I think he's got something there, definitely. So here we go. KOWNACKI will get revenge. Savage KO. Really? I told you, KOWNACKI's not that good. I told you before the fight, KOWNACKI's not that good, and that's why I didn't give him hardly any courage. He's not very good. Doesn't move his head, and he's a sucker for a right hand. Wow, he says. KOWNACKI said he recently had a baby before the fight, which and recovery. So what? It doesn't stop him moving his head. He didn't move his head against Ariola. He didn't move his head in any of those other fights. That's poor excuses, man. Poor excuses. Good evening, Dean Swartz. I don't buy that. Because in this fight is going to be like Tony Thompson, David Price too, where people are not being realistic about the possibilities of another loss. Yeah, KOWNACKI can get his ass knocked out again, but he's not good. He's just not that good. He's just not that good. I remember Pastor used to say to me, he said to me once in England, he said, "Get off the dead donkey, because it's not going anywhere." And a dead donkey is not going away. A donkey is meant to take you on a journey, get you from A to B. We're talking about the church and talking about vision. Let's basically talk about vision and direction. And KOWNACKI is kind of like that. He's very limited in what he can do. He's I struggle to see how he's better than Derek. I struggle to say he's better than Dillian Whyte. I think even Dave Allen would give him a good run for his money. I just don't think KOWNACKI's that good. I just don't. I think they're hoping for great white hope. I just don't think he's that good. Just roly poly. He's not even better. He's not better than Andrew Rees. He couldn't beat Andrew Rees. He's just not that good. But he's got support. The Polish, it's particularly in New York. There's a big Polish community. I know that because of when Arthur Spilka was fighting Bryant Jennings, and I was very close to Bryant Jennings back then, and I knew about the Polish support and how much support they had, and they really support their fighter, and that's all well and good and all that, but he's just not that good. I mean, Adamek was a good fighter. Golota was a good fighter. Golota in his prime, but he'd beat up KOWNACKI. Adamek would beat up KOWNACKI. Spilka in his prime would beat KOWNACKI. Spilka is done and finished. KOWNACKI's just not that good. Sorry, he's not. And I don't see him being heavyweight champion of the world. He's one of those guys that, let him be like one of the gatekeepers, one of them guys that people beat up on, to get somewhere. It's just not that good. Helenius was stopped by Washington, LOL. Oh, okay. Yeah, but as I said about Helenius had a lot of managerial issues. I just didn't think Helenius' head was in the game. I really don't. I think Helenius is a very good fighter. Charles Martin got stopped in a round or two by Anthony Joshua. But you can't compare that Charles Martin to the guy that's been fighting since. You understand? You've just got to know time and season with certain fighters. You just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So if KOWNACKI had a baby and you're taking that as an excuse, then you think about, I'll take the excuse of the contractual issues that they had where he didn't want to be in contract. He wanted to get out of his contract. Can you accept that as an excuse why he got knocked out by Washington? Just doesn't want to be there. It's the worst thing to be as a fighter, to be in a place where you don't want to be, and then you still have to fight for somebody who's not either paying you or looking after you or valuing you. And you've got 2 years in that contract. You've got to fight for a guy who's not paying you the money that you deserve. You understand? That's the worst place to be. So forget KOWNACKI. I mean, okay, I'm saying outright, he's garbage. That's it, straight up. Exciting heavyweight and comes across as a nice guy. Well, okay then. Jermaine Franklin. He doesn't beat Jermaine Franklin. He can't beat Jermaine. He doesn't beat Jermaine Franklin. He doesn't beat Jermaine Franklin. He doesn't beat Jared Anderson, right? He doesn't beat any of those guys. Do you understand? So he doesn't beat a Jagba. He doesn't beat Frank Sanchez. All right. So I don't know where you're going with KOWNACKI. He doesn't beat Andy Ruiz. He can't beat Dillian Wyatt. He certainly can't beat Derek Chisora. So I don't know where you're going with KOWNACKI. He got knocked. He got chinned. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So harsh words. See what you mean. Yeah, I've got to say what I mean. It's garbage. He's just not very good. And some people are motivated by nationalism or color of skin or race. The guy's good. He's a good fighter. I'm not caught up in it because a guy's Eastern European or he's Ukrainian. That just because he's got a ko at the end of his name, that suddenly I've got to think he's a great fighter because there was a great fighter that had a ko in his name and he was Ukrainian. No, it doesn't work like that. I base a fighter based on his attributes. His physical attributes, his mental attributes, his emotional attributes, his boxing skills, his record, his resume, his internal fortitude. I look at those things. Can the guy listen? Can he take instructions? I look at patterns in a fighter's fight. I don't just look at a guy. He's a nice guy. He's got a nice personality. He's from Poland, so he must be a great fighter. That's not how heavyweights work. That's not how boxing works. Can you fight? Can you fight under pressure? Can you fight under pressure if a guy's going to hit you back consistently? Can you move your head off the block? Or are you just going to keep trying to walk a guy down in straight lines? These are things. So if KOWNACKI decides to come back and do what he did the first fight and think, well, okay, I'm going to get more sleep, that's okay. Then he's going to get more sleep after this fight as well because he'll get beat up again. Simple. He's going to have to get past the jab of HELENIUS and he's going to have to get past the right hand. He's seen the first time HELENIUS touched him with the right hand, he fell over. So I don't buy that I had a baby and I don't buy that. That's garbage. It's rubbish. Well, if that was the case, don't take the fight. Don't fight. If it's that serious, don't fight. You've got all these Polish supporters that come to watch you fight and you're saying because of a baby. Like he's the only man in the world that's had a baby. He's the only one who's had sleeping on a baby. He's the only one. He's only heavyweight or the only fighter in the world who's had a baby. That's his excuse. It's a poor excuse, man. It's a poor excuse. You've got a big fight coming up. Don't take the fight. So you know what? I'm spending time with my child. I've got a newborn baby. I don't think I'll be ready for the fight. It's professionalism. Just don't take the fight. Simple as. You make just poor excuses. Poor excuses. Garbage. Proper excuses at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So I hope this time he's had plenty of sleep. I hope this time he's had he's still got a baby. Yes, the baby's still there. The baby's still going to be crying. So what's he done now? What's changed? Has he put a silencer on the baby now? What's changed? The baby's still going to want to get fed. The state baby's still going to be crying. What's KOWNACKI done? So the baby has been the reason. Come on, man. People buy that. HELENIUS is somewhere in a corner laughing. Big man like you talk about your baby was crying and you couldn't sleep. That's why you got knocked out. You got knocked out because you ran into a right hand. That's why you got knocked out. And if he's training thinking, it's like Cecilia Braccus. When Cecilia Braccus was saying, I didn't get beat by Jessica McCaskill. She's not that good, blah, blah, blah. I said, you're going to get beat again because your attitude's wrong. What KOWNACKI should be saying in this fight is quite simple. As far as I'm concerned, for this fight, You know what? I got beat. I walked onto a good right hand. HELENIUS is a good puncher. He's a better puncher than I expected. You know, I should use my head. I should, I've moved my head more. HELENIUS is a good fighter. And if I don't watch myself, I could get knocked out again. This is a dangerous fight. I didn't respect HELENIUS this fight. The next fight, I will respect it. If I heard him say something like that, then I'd give KOWNACKI a bit more respect. He comes out and says he had a baby and he had a bad camp. And look at HELENIUS' state. He was breathing like he was going to fall down. So I don't buy the story of some stories come up with. No, I don't buy it. Sorry. If KOWNACKI comes out the same way he fought first fight, he's getting knocked out, but even quicker this time round. That's it. HELENIUS knows that if I hit him with your right hand, I'm going to knock you over. His chin is not going to change because he's had more sleep. You know, he might even be more deluded because he thinks if I get more sleep, my chin will take more punches. Your chin's been cracked now. You've been knocked out. So you've been knocked out once. It's liable you get knocked out again. As soon as you get hit on the chin again by HELENIUS, your legs might do a dance again. That's how I'm seeing it. But I could be wrong. KOWNACKI seemed rushed, wasn't throwing as good combinations as he usually does. Maybe because he had maybe a TY, stiff jab, punching him back in his mouth and rocking his head back and get hit with good right hands. That will stop you throwing combinations. You could just run up on the guy and throw punches because you're getting hit with some good stiff jabs and good nice right hands down the pipe. That will stop you. He got stunned in the second round as well, may I add. This is the fascinating aspect for me listening to BWTM. What could KOWNACKI have done to approach his bout better than his first bout? Of course. What can you have done differently? Don't tell me about your baby. That's an excuse. That's an excuse. That's got nothing to do with boxing. That's to do with your personal and private life. I don't care. That's you not managing. That's between you and your wife or your missus, and she and you need to sort your business out behind closed doors. That's got nothing to do with me. Just like when Vladimir Klitschko had that issues with his girlfriend. As pretty as she is, that's not my business. You're a boxer. You're not a celebrity. You know what I mean? I'm here to watch you box, throw punches, knock people out. That's what I pay to see. I'm not here to hear any stories about you and your baby and stuff. If you want to do This Is Your Life, then we can talk about that. If you want to do a celebrity special on you, then my crib, then you can tell me about your baby and your wife and the cat and the dogs. I don't give a damn. And if I was a manager and you come up with that, again, pardon my French, if you came up with that bullshit and told me, well, because of my baby, you think George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, you think them men can roll off and say, yeah, because of my baby, I had a baby and I couldn't sleep, I lost my fight? You think Marvin Hagler would say something like that? You think Sugar Ray Leonard would say something like that? Tommy Hearns? Jesus. At least be like Tommy the Duke Morrison. At least you say, you know what? I went out and I was messing out with the ladies and I had a bit too much to drink and I came in all sloppy against Michael Bent. No, I respect you for that. But don't come in and tell me about your dog. Don't blame it on the baby. That's weak stuff. Sorry. That's weak stuff. Yeah, you laugh because it's true. It's true. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And if the Polish people probably looked at and went, another thing to add, I want to talk about Tyson Fury for a second again, this postponement and this COVID thing. I do wonder, because his sparring session wasn't going very well against Gerard Anderson. And I don't know if Tyson Fury got beat up in sparring. Because if he did get beat up in sparring or he got knocked out in sparring or something didn't go according to plan in sparring for Fury and he wasn't looking great, his timing was off, it's a good time to pull the COVID card as well. So that's something else to consider as well. So it's just something for you all to think about for a second. Two things I'm going to say before I end this video. Very important message. Message number one is to those who are unsubscribed, please do hit the subscribe button because YouTube are changing their policies. And for those who are unsubscribed, YouTubers or channel owners can now limit those who are unsubscribed from the channel from chat. And the second thing is obviously now subscribers can also be limited for how long they can chat as well. So please, if you're not subscribed already, do hit the subscribe button. Very important. So I wish Adam KOWNACKI all the very best in this fight, because if he is not up to scratch and he does not perform according to plan, then his career as a heavyweight might be might be he might be one of those guys that uses a journeyman, and he boxes like he fights like a journeyman. He fights like a journeyman. Did you catch the Rosado KO of Beck the Bully? Was very surprised. I was high on Beck. Yeah. See, I mean, that's another guy, another Eastern European guy, Beck. See what I mean? You love your Eastern European guys. All they have to do is have a Beck or Cole or Senko, some sort of catch, just a funny name, right? You know, some native name, and you're all high on them. Don't matter if they can fight. Don't matter if they can fight. Just back them. I mean, I can't watch boxing like that, mate. I don't know how you can watch boxing like, because you are going to be in for a lot of painful nights, because a lot of your fighters are going to get beat up badly and exposed because you don't listen. You can't fight with your face when you're chin in the heavyweight division and think you're Rocky Marciano. Them days are done. Do you understand? Even them men that used to fight Marciano fought all them old men, them geriatric men Marciano fought. And there was a lot of mafia around them time, when them guys had to just dive on the floor because of Marciano. You understand? So just take it from me. You can't fight in the heavyweight division with your chin, fighting like that with your chin. Eventually, you're going to get dropped and knocked out. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of who's the guy at the other end who's skilled enough to pop the jab in your face and then hit you with a right hand. That's all it is. What's that? What the hell's that got to do with anything? So you got a strong amateur. What does that mean? You were good as amateur. That's all that tells me. That's why they call it amateur boxing and professional boxing. Amateur boxing, you don't get paid. You get sponsored. Professional boxing is when you get paid. The difference between being an amateur and a pro. You know, it's like amateur golf and pro golf. You can't compare Tiger Woods to an amateur, can you? You just can't. You just wouldn't do it. Amateur, pro. The hint is in amateur, right? So don't let me have to school you on what amateur and pro is. Please don't. There's so many guys who, all you have, Harrison had a great amateur career. And he won the Olympic gold legitimately in Sydney. Not like Anthony Joshua. Legit. My old school college buddy. Right? He won it legitimately. Olympic gold medalist. He had a great amateur career. Pro, not so good. But behind the scenes, Audley did not run his career the way he should have run it. Talking Marciano, Archie Moore should have had a movie made about how much he was avoided. Oh yeah, Archie Moore was a hell report. The mongoose. In fact, I remember one day I'm going to get my old trainer on, Reefer. Anyone knows Mark Reefer? His father used to train me. It was Mark Reefer used to train me, and then Steve Robinson's old trainer, Ronnie Rush, the connections Trinidad there. So Ronnie Rush, who trained Barry Jones and trained Steve Robinson, was my trainer as well. So he was training me when I went to Cardiff. And yeah, and one of the guys we talked to a lot was the mongoose. So he had a move where he would move this way and then move that way. He'd move like this and move like that. So he make you walk this way, and then you go that way. And as you're coming back this way, hit it with your left hook. So the mongoose, you'd set traps. You know, him and Josie Joe Walcott, where, you know, a guy throws a punch, you make him overextend, you step back, and then you wing the right hand back over the top. It's beautiful moves, beautiful boxing moves. A lot of stuff you don't see like that in boxing today. That's poetry emotions. See those moves, you know. But yeah. Most of all-time greats had a strong amateur background. Mate, let me educate you about the all-time greats. The all-time greats had all-time great trainers. All-time greats had all-time great trainers. And that's what's missing today in boxing. Because they go with guys who don't know anything about boxing. So they turn professional, but they still have amateur trainers. How many times do I have to talk to you about it? It was a good indicator. It's not a good indicator today. It was a good indicator because even if you were a good amateur fighter and you had a style that fit the amateurs, you turn the pros, you now got to do 12 rounds, 12 3-minute rounds. You understand? So you might be a fantastic amateur, but you not be a very good pro. And the way you become a very good pro is by having a very good professional trainer. If you don't have a professional setup and a good trainer, there you've got issues. So KOWNACKI, I'll come back to him. If he had a professional setup, a proper professional setup, there's no way KOWNACKI could come out and make an excuse about baby, because he's trained on his ass. He would have been there every day watching what KOWNACKI was doing, his lifestyle, and said, "Son, you come out of camp, you come and sleep stay in the same room as me, sleep with me." That's what my trainer did. I slept in the same house as Ronnie Rush, who was then in disputing with Steve Robinson. And when I arrived into Cardiff, the day I arrived into Cardiff, his wife passed away. So I was at the hospital. I was with Ronnie Rush I was everywhere. Ronnie Rush was everywhere with me. I mean, I'm going to the toilet. He's outside the door. You understand? He made sure I was in bed at a certain time. I had to get up at a certain time. I had to get up 4 o'clock in the morning and go for my runs. 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, I have to finish my work at Sports Cafe on Cardiff Bay and come back. Maybe get an hour or two sleep. And then I'm back on the road. Ronnie's knocking at my door. Bang, 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 bang. Well, I have to get to Ronnie's place. Trust me. If you miss a training session because you were tired or because you didn't organize yourself, that wasn't his problem. That was your problem. You were paying the trainer. You were paying the trainer. So you wouldn't waste your money. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's you don't make excuses like that are just poor. They're weak excuses. Weak excuses. And I tell you something, if Deontay Wilder made that excuse, you would turn and say, Deontay Wilder caused his baby. But because, it's a guy that you like and it suits your little box, it's okay. It's fine. Because he's, his baby. He's the only man in the world that's had a baby. He's the only one who's had a baby. Of course. I'll leave that right there. Thank you for watching. As always, this has been BWTM Sports Gaming. Who do you think is going to win the big fight? Do you think it's going to be... I think I might even have a show tonight to do afterwards because I'm getting a call coming through from the States. So I may come back and do another show. But as for now, thank you so much for watching. This has been BWTM Sports, and I'm out.